God, I hate the anti-TikTok community. I understand that the anime title is hate. I also understand that talking about the most recent thing is important for the algorithm. But man, you skit anti-TikTokers have put into so many people's minds that Sumisho is a degenerate antichrist of an anime. Sumisho is not degenerate pedo bait, it is just sad porn. If you even gave the trailer a shot, you would know that this show is not some edgy, revolving an elementary school or getting it on with some old dude. It's a show with class and actually a lot of heart. The show revolves around Takai, who went back into life after her tragic passing 10 years ago and is now back in Marika's body, this elementary school girl. Takai goes back to her old home and sees her family in a rut and she tries to fix them up. In addition to that, her current family is also in a rut with the single mother that she has, Chika, being absent and a little emotionally abusive. Sumisho has some really wholesome and good feeling moments. Takai, Keisuke, and Mai have such a great bond as a family. You can't help to feel good watching a family that was broken down emotionally now finally being able to feel joy again because Takai is back. The core theme that the three arcs of the anime revolves around is the theme of moving on. Not letting the past tie you down, whether the past is good or bad. The first arc deals with moving on from a terrible situation. Chika is emotionally abusive and screams at her daughter. Not cool stuff, but when I was watching the show, I didn't really hate her. She's not written to be a villain. We see her as a flawed and damaged human. Sometimes not making the best decision ever, but it's not Chika's fault that she's an emotional wreck and can't pick the right man. You know, deep down inside somewhere, Chika, she truly does care for her daughter. She just needs to be reminded by Takai how to show care and that her daughter needs a mother that's emotionally there for her. Chika doesn't have to end up like her own parents. Chika's character development from being a pretty shitty mother to becoming a really caring mother is honestly admirable and just a really, really good watch. There's also this mini arc revolving Mai's relationship with this Fisher dude. I think had some really good moments as well. I mean, honestly, we need some moe moments of Mai because we can't be only selling figures of an elementary school girl. That scene when they proposed in the beach, tying back to that moving on theme that I was talking about of the show. I won't spoil too much about it, but that scene really, really was something. But after 8 episodes or so, the show approaches its final arc. Takai's final passing. God, even thinking about it makes me a little emotional. If you were watching the show closely, I feel like you sort of knew that this was the only way to end the show. In a way, that foreshadowing of Takai being dependent on by Keisuke and Mai so much, but also having that feeling that this relationship, Takai being here, is not temporary, is heartbreaking. There has to be a little sweet, but overall a bitter ending. We are talking about a passing of a loved one after all. Chika's dynamic with each of the Nijima family is interesting. Keisuke and Chika, who initially had a falling out, but ended up being very mature about the situation, and understood that Takai, her beloved wife, and the pillar of his family, is stealing precious time from Marika's youth. And as much as Keisuke and Mai is enjoying their life with Takai back, it's just not fair for Chika and Marika's life to be destroyed because of it. In the end, the final scene when Chika embraced Marika was very emotional, to say the least. But the arc is mainly centered in convincing Takai to move on. Takai herself wants to move on, even though she knows that it would mean that she would never see her family again. She just wants to make sure that her family is going to be alright after her second passing. This was a massive attempt by Keisuke and sort of needed everyone to be on board. The one that needs most convincing was Mai. And throughout the whole series, she's probably been the most emotional, in a way childish and immature, but you know, she's just innocent and she just loves the shit out of her parents. Keisuke's own character development I think is very fascinating. Keisuke, from being an emotionally absent father to taking the initiative and doing this grand gesture to convince Takai that he himself can live on without being dependent on Takai, to convince her that Keisuke too can move on, even though he doesn't really want to, that shows a maturity that I don't even think I'll ever have. And of course, I have to talk about that plot twist in the end. I thought, honestly, it made sense. Keisuke has always loved Takai. Takai is his one true love. And I don't think any given time can change that. I just sort of feel bad for Mai that was duped like that. This anime is also just well adapted. There was some pacing issues and some cut content that was very apparent revolving Moria, but I think the adaptation did a really good job. The OST really elevated some emotional scenes from being sad to straight up putting tears into my eyes. The animation is standard slice of life stuff, which is not amazing, but it was pretty what it needed to be. And Yuki Aoi also did an amazing job voice acting Marika and Takai. The range from going back and forth from an elementary schooler to this grown adult is pretty incredible. Look, I know that it looks bad from a distance, but I think you should watch If My Wife Becomes an Elementary School Student. It's honestly one of the best animes of this year.